Hey everybody, Steve here with something I think that's going to shock quite a few of you. Now, if you're a baby boomer like me, you probably won't be shocked by this, but I was thinking the other day about the home where I grew up when I was a kid. It was 1960 when we moved into this new home. I was 7 years old. It was a brand new home in a beautiful suburb of Los Angeles. I just Googled it. I was curious how far the house was from downtown Los Angeles. When I was a kid, I don't know, it seemed really far away, but it turns out it was 20 miles away. The suburb was 20 miles away from downtown Los Angeles. So I could have ridden my bicycle to downtown LA. I didn't realize it at the time. It seemed a lot further away than that. I also checked to see how far Disneyland was from our house, because we used to go to Disneyland every year, at least once a year, usually a couple times a year. And Disneyland was 18 miles away from our home. So this is the home, my childhood home where I grew up. We moved in 1960. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, brand new, beautiful, brand new neighborhood, new schools, everything new, everything beautiful, kind of rolling hills. It was a family neighborhood full of kids my age, my brother's age, and we had lots and lots of friends. Everybody rode their bicycles, and it was a really family-friendly neighborhood. I had 5 brothers, and just about everybody else in the neighborhood had 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. So there were lots of kids to play with and lots of friends. It was just really an ideal place to live for a child. I mean, I have amazing memories of growing up there as a kid, and we lived there. I lived there from the time I was 7 until I moved out to go to college when I was 17. So I was there full time for 10 years. Before that, I guess my parents were renting homes. But this was the first home they owned. Can you guess what they paid for that home in 1960? They paid $16,000. $16,000. That was it. You can't even buy a new car in 2025 for $16,000. Whenever I'm up in that area, up in LA, I try to drive by the house and just see what it looks like, and it still looks pretty nice. And out of curiosity the other day, well, actually this was a few months ago, I looked on Zillow just to see what that house is worth today. And I was shocked to discover that it had just recently sold. Actually, I think this was around 6 months ago. And I don't have it in front of me. I'll see if I can find the information on Zillow, but it had just sold like a month before I did my search. And it sold for, now I can't remember, was it 600,000, 700,000? I'll go back and find that information and post it here. I don't know what percentage of increase that is, but that's a huge increase. Now, it has been 65 years. Just to think of that seems weird. So the house is 65 years old now. Boy, how time flies. But what really shocked me is when we moved in, it was brand new. We were the first owners, and it looked really nice. But they recently, before they sold it, I guess, they completely remodeled it, and it actually looked much nicer than when we moved in and when it was new in 1960. I mean, it was beautiful. So I can kind of see why they got that much money for it, but still it was so shocking to think that my parents paid $16,000 for it back then, and the new owners just paid so much more for the same house. Now, they did do a nice job. They added a window where one of the walls was, and actually it's funny because we don't really have that many photos inside the house. I think we have a few. I'll see if I can find those and share those in this video, just so you can see what it looked like back then. And so this house, even though it sold for way over $500,000, doesn't even have a washer and dryer in the house. The washer and dryer is in the garage. But the proximity to downtown Los Angeles, so if you're working anywhere in the LA area, I'm sure the house has increased in value that much just because of the land value being so close to downtown LA and to Disneyland and to the beach. And yeah, it was a great location. And even though it was a really nice suburb when we moved there, and it's still a nice area, it's not like one of the wealthy areas in Los Angeles. If it was, that house would be selling for way over $1 million already. But even still, even just being in, I think it was just considered a middle class, maybe even a working class neighborhood when we lived there. Nice, but nothing fancy. Not an upscale neighborhood, a high-end neighborhood or anything. But it blows my mind thinking that if prices continue the way they've been headed in recent years, that house that cost my parents $16,000 could be selling for over $1 million in the next couple of years. Isn't that insane? And they sold, like after I moved out and went to college, I guess it was 1971. Actually, I think I still lived there for a couple of years when I was in college. So I really didn't move out until 1973. And I think that's the year they actually sold. They got a divorce and sold the house, and they probably sold it for $20,000, maybe $25,000. I don't know what they sold it for, but I'm sure it wasn't much. So taking this little personal trip down memory lane today made me very happy, very nostalgic, kind of sad in a lot of ways. Sad that they didn't keep the house, but also sad for younger people today who can't even afford to buy a house. How do we go from everyone back then, back in the 60s, being able to almost everybody, easily being able to afford a house, to now we're a couple, both are working and still can't afford to buy a house? How many couples could afford to buy that house today at $600,000-$700,000? And I bet the mortgage interest rates back then were really low too. Now, I think in the 70s they did skyrocket. I do kind of remember stories about in the 70s interest rates being just astronomically high. But I think in the 60s and 1960 when they bought, I bet it was very, very low. I bet the mortgage interest was really low. And so it was probably very easy, very affordable to buy a home. And back then, you could survive on just one income. Try doing that today. Almost impossible for most people. It's really sad when I think just how lucky we were to have grown up when we did as baby boomers. We're very fortunate and we're very lucky. I'm very grateful, and my heart really goes out to people today who just don't have the same advantages that we had back then. Owning a home back in the 1960s was definitely a major part of that American dream that everyone strived for. Today, I don't think that dream exists anymore. It's a totally different world that we live in, and trying to own a home for a lot of people these days, to buy a home, is more of a nightmare than a dream. It makes me wonder, how much worse can it get? Or will it get better? Will we have a market crash and a market adjustment, and will things become more affordable again at some point? But sadly, here in 2025, homeownership in the US is becoming almost impossible for a lot of people, maybe most people. It's sad to see where we've come in 65 years, and that doesn't seem like progress to me. What do you guys think? As always, feel free to share in the comments. I'll look forward to reading your comments, and I hope to see you all in the next video.